Okay, once again it's time for me to step out of universe and analyse something that we have seen materialise over the last day or so. On the 27th of February, the Marvel Comics YouTube channel uploaded a trailer for their very first issue of their brand new Alien comic series, which is not only Marvel's first Alien comic since they acquired the comic rights to the franchise, but it has also stated to be a very large issue, coming in at around, I think, about the 40-page mark. But today we are here to discuss and break down the trailer that we received and all the exciting prospects that have been revealed to us about the next chapter of the Alien franchise. The first 3 scenes of the trailer, we get straight into the action and straight into the intrigue. We open in the first scene in low Earth orbit. We can tell that the planet below is Earth, not only due to its homely colours, but the shape of the landmass below. It's hard to miss Italy, Greece, Spain, and obviously the African continent. We see a relatively expensive looking spacecraft flying by a more 21st century styled space station. Moving on to the next scene, it's hard to say whether we are still orbiting the Earth, as the celestial object in the background appears dark and clouded, possibly in a shadow. In the foreground we have yet another space station, however this one appears to be much more akin to the design principles of the ship from the first scene. Much more advanced and sleek looking to the other station. But it is hard to tell if it's simply not just another section of that same station, as neither shot has really given us a good overview of each. As we arrive at the third scene, things begin to heat up, as we would presumably see what is within this second space station. A laboratory where it appears that someone is conducting some kind of experiments with various different species. There are 9 tanks, each containing a different creature, but the majority seem to be developing xenomorph-like traits. These creatures would seemingly either be undergoing gene splicing with some xenomorphic genetic material, or it is possible that the engineer's accelerant might be at play here. We see that the creature closest to our point of view is primate-like, with the one to its left appearing to be some kind of cattle or equine. However, the others are much harder to analyse in this way, which might be due to these specimens being of alien origin themselves. Within the room we also see the classic mother-styled computer, all evident towards the experimenters, likely being that of the Weyland-Yutani company. We then proceed to be given a number of texts with some exciting and tense music to boot, between which we see the flashes of what appears to be an individual locked within some kind of stasis chamber. We begin to see something written on the transparent panels of that chamber, and we hear them pounding on it, obviously trying to escape the chamber as red emergency lights stain their view. Something is not right here. And then the point of view moves up to reveal what the writing says on the pod. Alien inside. This would seem to suggest that whoever is within the pod would seemingly have been better off to never have woke up from it again. The text indicates to us that the individual likely is either playing host to a xenomorph creature or some kind of other horrific parasitic alien creature. We then get a look at one of the xenomorph creatures we should expect to see within the comic. From the image, we can ascertain that while this xenomorph looks very familiar, it does have some distinct features to that of a regular drone. The dome of this creature appears much fleshier, as well as its tail and mid-section appear to have some kind of extra segmented, greyish plated armour. We then see another xenomorph, followed by our first glimpse into the xenomorph hive featured in this story. We are greeted to a few xenomorph overmorphs and what appears to be someone's arm reaching up from the hive that they are now cocooned within. Next, we see an individual strung upside down in the process of being implanted by a facehugger. The facehugger, like the xenomorph seen before, has some noticeable changes from the common xenomorph XX121's appearance. This facehugger's digits are much thinner and more bone-like, as well as its tail possessing spines out from either side of it. And if you were to ask me, it appears very reminiscent of the facehuggers created by David on the planet Paradise, through his work attempting to recreate the xenomorphs from text left behind by the engineers. Does this mean that we might see the comic explore Paradise in some shape or form? Well, now we have hints both to the engineer's accelerant as well as a facehugger, much like the ones found there. I think we can at least be cautiously optimistic about it. Or it could be not connected at all, and they might be conducting very different experiments that have led to these creatures' creation. Moving on, we see a quick flash of the face of a man in pure shock. Panning out, we see that the individuals within the hive appear to be colonial marines, forced to watch their comrades slowly attacked, implanted, and inevitably forced to give birth to the next generation of xenomorph creatures. Overwatching them is a lone xenomorph. Next, we see a lone individual within the stasis pod. This appears to be a different one from before, as there is no writing on this one. However, this could also be just as likely that this is the same individual and same pod, but has not yet succumbed to a parasitic attack by an alien. Watching over them is yet another xenomorph creature, as we see its reflection in the pod's casing. The very next shot shows us a traditional xenomorph XX1, with this xenomorph individual particularly being a drone, with a smooth dome and regular body shape to go with it. And in the very next shot, the trouble is multiplied by at least 7, as we see an additional 7 xenomorph XX121s, as well as a lone facehugger. As we pan to the left, we see an additional 4 to 6 creatures, and then in the very next scene another 4, along with something very odd. In this scene, we are greeted to a lone hammerpede. That's right, a hammerpede. If you're not familiar with this creature, the hammerpedes were first seen on the planet LV-223 and were the result of the engineer's accelerant mixing with a native worm-like species there during the events of the USCSS Prometheus's expedition to that world, which created these dangerous serpentine creatures. The big question though is, how did they get within the pages? Well, it's possible again that whoever is conducting these experiments possibly retrieved them from LV-223, and that would be an exciting prospect all its own, to see LV-223 once again in canon. And couple that with the trip to Planet 4, and this comic would be an insane lore ride. However, it's also possible that due to the experimenters having their own possession of samples of the accelerant, they might have been able to recreate the hammerpedes from another worm-like organism, possibly even the common earthworm. We proceed to get a couple more flashes of xenomorphs and facehuggers alike, however it's what happens next that could change the entire alien universe forever. We come to the final flash of this scene, coming face to face with an unknown entity. This strange creature immediately screams biomechanical. Its body appears to have things in common with that of the xenomorphs, however it's much more humanoid than they are. But that's where the comparison to humanity ends. Its head manifests a number of horn-like protrusions that curve and wrap around one another. It has actual eyes. They are a colour of shade of yellowy green with slit-shaped pupils. What's most intriguing about it though is that the xenomorphs around it appear to be looking away from it, not making any attempt to attack it. It's hard to tell from our brief zoomed in glimpse of it, but I would go to say that it's possible that this creature might actually even be influencing the xenomorphs, controlling them to some degree. This creature is extremely exciting and the possibilities for what it could be are endless. It's possible that this creature is resulted from an experimentation conducted on the creatures aboard the station, the one that we saw earlier in the trailer. Maybe the experimenters wanted to create something that could tap into the xenomorph's hive mind and control them, effectively turning them into a controllable weapon. Perhaps this is some new, previously unknown type of alien species that has been lurking beyond the middle heavens, that is now only making first contact with humanity. And now for my most wild of guesses. Could this creature be what became of Daniels after the events on Planet 4? The creature's appearance immediately makes me think back to the display David created out of Shaw's corpse, in his attempt to make her his queen. After escaping Planet 4 aboard the USCSS Covenant, David, the rogue android, vowed to continue his work, using Daniels presumably for his new queen, to spawn the next generation of his xenomorph creatures. So, is it possible that that is what became of Daniels, or is this too far a reach? I would say that at this point, anything is possible, and it may just as likely be that I haven't even made a correct guess yet. We'll just have to wait and see. Entering the final stages of the trailer, we see a lone xenomorph lunge at the screen before seeing a number of those working on the series, the release window for the first issue of the comic, and where you can purchase it.
If you're up against a xenomorph, there's only one android model for the job.
And as the finale to the trailer, we heard from what will presumably be our main character, a colonial marine, who is looking at a picture of what can be assumed to be his fellow squad mates. And it's here we actually get some dialogue from him, when he explains to us, as we are moving into the next scene, that if you're up against a xenomorph, then there is really only one android model for the job. And of course he is making reference to the standard Bishop model android, often deployed alongside colonial marine squads across the middle heavens. Obviously our main character has seen firsthand the loyalty and helpfulness the Bishop model can provide in xenomorph related matters. And with that, this stunning trailer comes to a close, and we are all left, if I can speak for us all, stunned and very eager to get our hands on the first issue when it releases on the 24th of March. This is probably going to be a very long month for me, as I try to remain patient in order to find out everything I can about this new story from Marvel Comics. But until we can get more on the comic, I again have to return to the universe to keep providing you with every bit of canon info until this comic releases and beyond. Before you go, I wanted to let you know about the ACHERON Colonial Marketplace, the one-stop shop for all Project ACHERON merchandise. All proceeds go to fund our future endeavours under the project, so if you want to support the channel and look good doing it, pick up some ACHERON merch. But what other data logs would you like to see? If you have any ideas or have any questions to be answered, please leave them in the comments or contact me directly through the Project ACHERON Discord. If you enjoyed today's segment, please leave a like and share the video. And if you really want to support what we do here and gain access to a bunch of awesome rewards, consider becoming a Project ACHERON channel member, like Project Director Chris Dasinger and team member Raunchy. I hope to see you all here again very soon, but until then, this is the ACHERON Project signing off.